We first met at school. I didn't think much of it. The relationship started just strictly platonic, but then it grew into something more.
So how we met was actually because of our friend John. John and I had a class together, and it was like the first week of classes, and I think I remember we were just like hanging out or something after class, and then he said he had to take someone to Walmart, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, like I'll go, like why not? Like I had nothing better to do with my life at the time. And yeah, we met in the parking lot of Jubilee Hall. I remember thinking he was kind of weird. He had like a bunch of tattoos, and he was just like, I don't know. It wasn't like the best impression. I was just like, oh, okay, it's just like some random person.
All right, so when we first met, it was a Walmart trip. One of our other buddies was taking us to Walmart. As a matter of fact, he's one of my groomsmen, John Jones. He asked me, was it okay for her to come along? I was like, cool, why not? I didn't know her. It was a new student. Fish is like that big, or at least was that big at the time. So when I seen her, yeah, I sized her up. What man won't. But I realized that she was a bit young. So it was like, nope, off limits.
And then the very first time we hung out was actually with D'Angelo. We had went to, I think it was a volleyball game, and that was also like the first week of school. And we hung out on the steps of the business office afterwards. And I just remember we were all like just sitting down talking, and he actually fell asleep like on my lap. And I was like, okay. And so yeah, that was when we first met.
I remember us taking probably a 3 to 4 mile walk one night. And I guess that's when we established that we were friends, because that same night before the walk, her mom, brother, and grandmother had came up to campus. And oddly, I was there to meet them all. So it was a surprise for everyone. I didn't think much of it, just because like at that time I was considering her as a friend, and that was all. So I didn't have anything to hide, any guilty conscience, like, oh my God, we kissed or anything like that. It was just like, okay, hey grandma, hey mom, hey brother. And it was kind of weird because the brother came. Normally, I don't know, I guess for me, it's that apprehension or that nervousness when a brother comes or another male figure.
So for our first date, we were actually studying. It was probably close to midterms, like second semester of freshman year. Well, my freshman year, his first year at Fisk. And we were just studying, and it was storming that night, I remember. And I actually went back to my dorm room, because I was like, I don't want to be out, you know, in this weather. And he had texted me, and all he said was hot chocolate date. And I was like, sure, why not?
I didn't have my car in Nashville at the time, so we walked to Panera Bread. And it was raining that night. And we had went to go get signature hot chocolate. And there was a group of kids, black kids, selling some candy. And I bought some candy from them, and then gave some extra money. And she reminds me of this, because I guess this is a quality that she likes in me, just me being generous to other people.
To me, it was one of the best first dates, because I really got to see like who he was as a person, not just the people you hear about, but just to random strangers too.
So we had the signature hot chocolate, and then, like I said, we had to walk back to campus in the rain together. So it was probably about a mile or two away, which was cool. I enjoyed it. I'll do it again. So the process, it was a bit complex, and still is. And I only say that because I didn't think I was going to get to this point. I did not think about marriage, because it really wasn't in my home. It is challenging, it was challenging, but life is hard. And having somebody to go through that with, I realized that it's beautiful. And the challenges, they are beautiful. Like I said, I'll do it over 10 times, especially only if I can be with her. We went through, or we're going through the arguments, which is beautiful, it's normal. And those are just moments of us understanding not just each other, but ourselves as individuals.
Oh, before the proposal, how it was to date him. We're very different personalities. I'm very bubbly and outgoing and very animated, like overly happy sometimes, and he's more calm and reserved. He's kind of a man of few words. He says things that are important. He doesn't overly show emotions about things. He's just like, yeah, okay. So it's kind of hard to read him. But it took a long time for us to break down some barriers and for me to understand, like, just because he's not expressing emotions in the way that I do doesn't mean he's not happy. It doesn't mean that he's not enjoying himself or that he's not having a good time. He's actually been wonderful. You know, of course we had like our little arguments, especially like dating in college and stuff, like hanging out with friends versus spending time with each other. That's always difficult, but he always made sure to find time, especially because he works so much. He's constantly having 2 to 3 jobs and going to school full time, and I don't know how he does it, but he'll manage to balance that and balance spending time with me and making our relationship a priority, which has always been really important to me. He's also incredibly patient, like just the most patient person ever. I know I'm a handful sometimes. So the fact that he can just take the time to understand and to deal with me, and one of the big things was I didn't know how to cook when we first met. I could make like maybe French toast, and I would like bake things occasionally. But I was definitely not a homemaker type, and he's always been really patient with me in the kitchen, especially because like I'm the type where I need recipes. I like to follow directions, and I'm very like, give me the instructions and I'll do it step by step. And he's like, nah, just add like a pinch of that and like a dash of that, and I'm like, this is not gonna work. So just his patience overall has been wonderful, and just being able to see him grow over the years, I think was really nice, because we dated for a while before he proposed. So just to see the changes in him has been really great.
So we had been living together probably for about 1 to 2 years. And I remember her being in class, I had just dropped her off. Me coming home after work and dropping her, me coming home and being in the kitchen and contemplating, because we had just gotten to a minor argument. And it's like, could I really handle this? Am I able to handle her at her worst points? And my answer was yes. And I also asked myself, would I be willing to go through this with her? And yet again, my answer was yes. And that's when I really realized that I truly loved her. And I couldn't see myself, and I can't see myself with anybody else.
The first time I knew I was in love with him was actually our first date at Panera, just seeing him interact with those boys, because we were best friends way before, way before we started dating. Pretty much since that first day we met at Fizz, we've been like best friends. So I got to see who he was outside of a relationship, and then after when we had our first date, then I was like, oh, like I really love him. That and coming out here, so we've taken a couple of cross-country road trips together. You have to really like someone to be in a car with them for 32 hours. And coming out here and seeing how he interacts with his family, and his heart is just so amazing. The things that he does for people and the way he cares about people, it shows me that he is an amazing person. He's an amazing partner, and he would be like a wonderful father whenever we have kids. And so I know that was definitely someone that I wanted to marry. As I said before, his patience is just incredible. Just all of like his good qualities, and even some of his bad ones that are kind of annoying. They're things that I would deal with and that I wouldn't mind like putting up with, and it would keep our relationship interesting over the years. And I'm a very like analytical person, so like I have to like sit down and think like, can I really see myself with this man for the next like 70 years? And yeah, like I really can.
On one of our first visits to California, I decided to give her a promise ring. And it's probably about a mile away from here. I told her that this was how it was going to be. And she accepted the promise ring. Hours later, she's like, you deserve a ring too. I admit, I was apprehensive about it just because I don't like wearing jewelry and just that type of commitment. But I had to realize that, Jovan, you're eventually going to have to start wearing one. Whether you like it or not. And the ring, it's become a lifestyle now. Like I feel uncomfortable with it when I don't have it on. And that was pretty much my decision, or it's my decision every morning to put it on, not hers anymore. And I needed that. It's a constant reminder of her being there with me through whatever challenges. So the proposal, that process was kind of long. Before the proposal, I went with one of my close friends. It's a she. She should be here, Aisha Sees. We went in the storm to go pick up the ring. And when I say it was storming, like cars were parked on the side of the road because the rain was that bad.
So the day he proposed was my college graduation day. My family was in town. My grandma had came from Trinidad. My aunt came from Alabama. My mom came from Georgia. My godmother came from New York. So people were here from like all over. It was a whole lot going on. Of course, I was excited because I'm like, I'm graduating. I'm finally getting my degree. I'm so excited. He was weird that day. Like, he was a little off, and I know, like I said, my personality can be a lot sometimes. So I know he was kind of like trying to temper, me having to deal with my family, having to deal with like everything else. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe, that's what it is, whatever. So I didn't really give too much thought to it because I was so wrapped up in the fact that I'm graduating. But like looking back, like I can tell that something else was going on with him. So we went, I had like graduation and everything. That was great. I was taking pictures with my friends and everything. He was really antsy in the car. And again, I didn't like really think too much of it. And then we went to my graduation lunch. And some of his like fraternity brothers showed up, and I was like, okay. And I was like, hey, what are you guys doing here? And they were like, oh, we're just celebrating graduation. I was like, oh, okay, great. Like, whatever.
I was nervous. My father-in-law, he bought me a cup of tequila to calm me down, but that didn't work. I feel like I probably needed a bottle of it. I remember rehearsing what I was going to say, and when I got to the point, it completely just vanished. I didn't believe it at all. I mean, I didn't remember anything at all. And it's like a split where I got up to go to the other side of the table to propose to her. And all I remember is me being on my knees and her hand in my hand. He
had given me a promise ring a couple years before. In 2015, he gave me a promise ring, and he told me to take it off because like I always wear it. And I was like, okay. And then like everyone got like all excited, and I was like, what? Like, what's going on? And he like comes over to me, and he's shaking. Like he's like, his hands are shaking, and he's trembling, and it's so cute. He actually told me later that he had a whole speech, but he forgot like everything. He just kind of went blank. And he was like, I'm only doing this once. And I'm like, okay. And he got down on one knee and he grabbed my hand and he asked, will you marry me? And so of course I said yes. And then you can hear like my dad and my godmom like being like, she said yes, like in the background. They're so excited. And yeah, he was trembling, and then afterwards, he talked to my grandma. I don't know what they talked about, but she made him cry. And yeah, it was just wonderful. It's funny, leading up to it, like beforehand, I was talking to some of my best friends about it, and I was like, if he's ever gonna propose, like now is like the best time to do it before we move across the country together, and while my family is all here and stuff. I think like that would be really nice. I didn't tell him that. Like I didn't say anything to him about it. I did not even know it was on his mind at all. So I think the fact that he was aware of that and he knew how important it was to have my family around really spoke volumes.
It's been a learning experience, and I say that with all good intentions. And like I said, it's just her being my partner. Like I'm realizing that it's more than just me now, and we have to be on one accord, and we can't show any differences, especially to the public eye. People ask me like, well, people may ask, and sometimes do ask, like, are you married? And it's like, yeah, I'm married. And it's just speaking stuff into existence. I will admit, like, it has not been easy, but when you learn your partner, in a way, you're kind of learning yourself as well, because you learn things you dislike, things you like. When you shelter yourself or when you limit yourself on certain things, they bring that out of you, especially when it comes to patience. And like that's what it takes, because you get to create boundaries. You get to create your own world with this person, your own vocabulary. And we've established that divorce is not in our vocabulary. And I feel like that's powerful. And like certain things should not be in your vocabulary. Certain things should not be in your world when it comes to a relationship, because you have to think about like you're going to have a family most likely. And if you put certain things in that world, that exposes your children.
So as of right now, we've been engaged about 1.5 years. By the time we get married, it'll be 2 years. He's been very supportive. I initially wasn't sure how involved he wanted to be with the whole wedding planning process. Like I started, just diving headfirst into it. I'm a planner, so I was like, okay, we need this. I need to find a venue. I need to figure out the dresses. I got to get stuff done. And as I was doing all of that, he didn't really say much, but a couple of months into it, I guess he was kind of bothered that, I was pretty much taking over, and it was my day and it's supposed to be our day. And so we did this thing where he planned his own wedding. So he picked the venue, he picked my dress, he picked all this stuff, and then we compromised. So we came together and I was like, okay, these are my ideas, these are your ideas, what do we both like, what do we both have that we want. And so I think that was really important, and I think it was a good step leading up to marriage, just knowing that we can compromise like that. I think it bodes well for having a successful foundation for our marriage.